Hi, and welcome. My name is Matt. This is Killian.
Hi.
And we're with Innish. And today we're going to talk about what do you need to play D&D. So before you dive into other videos on how to play D&D, this video is going to be a little bit more important because what you need to play will help you understand how to play. So we're going to talk about a few things today. The absolute first thing you're going to need is 1 or 2 sets of polyhedral dice. What does that even mean? Let's talk about that right now. I'm going to switch cams. And I'm going to use my Innish dice tray from Forged Gaming. These are polyhedral dice. There's a set of about 7 of them. So first things first, this is called a D4 or a 4-sided dice. Mm-hmm. It is a pyramid and the triangle has 3 sides, but because it has a bottom, it's 4 sides and there's numbers on there. This particular D4, whatever number shows up on the bottom is what I rolled, and that is a 3. Next up, you have a D6. This is a standard dice. So if you're used to playing board games and you have a square dice with little dots on them, that's a 6-sided die. That's the next one up. Next, we have a die 8, which if you look at the D8 here, you have 4 numbered sides on the top. And if we flip it over, it's 4 numbered sides on the bottom, giving it 8 total sides. Then you have a D10. So similar to everything else. It's got 5 on the top, and if you flip it over, 5 numbered sides on the bottom, making it 10-sided die. You'll need that. Next up, you have a 12, a D12. It's got 12 sides to it. All of them are numbered. Then you'll have your percentage die, which is similar to a D10, right? It's got 10 sides, but rather than single digits, it has double digits. So 00, 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, 90. Because this is like a chance die. What percentage chance do I have on X amount of whatever? This is what you'll use. And then this is your bread and your butter. You're going to use this for almost everything. This is your 20-sided die. And you want to roll a 20 because that's the best. Nope. I rolled a 2.
You rolled right next to
typical for me. That is a set of polyhedral dice. I recommend players have at least 2 sets of polyhedral dice to play because sometimes your weapons require 2. You might need to roll 2 D6s or 2 D10s to roll damage for something, right, Kill? Mm-hmm. So depending on the class that you choose, you'll need more than 1 set. As you get more powerful as a character, you might roll 3 sets of dice or 4 sets of dice, and it goes higher and higher. Like fireballs, like 8d6, which is always fun to pick up a handful of dice and throw them.
And then something like a 9th level spell, which is like the highest, like power word kill. You could just say a word and they'll die.
And they'll die. Yep. Some things don't even need dice. But you absolutely have to have dice to start. You can get dice anywhere. I recommend Forged Gaming. ForgeGaming.com has great sets of both acrylic and metal dice. I also like other websites that are out there. You can go on Amazon even and get a set of polyhedral dice for like $7. Your local game store will have them as well. Chessex, Nord's Foundry. There's all kinds of Dice Envy is a good site. But Forged is my favorite. You can get dice literally anywhere. They're cheap. So you have to have dice. The second thing I would say that you absolutely must have is the D&D 5th edition Player's Handbook. Okay? You can get this at your local game store. Places like Target now sell this. Amazon, you can get them. I would say if you have a local game store near you, though, see if they've got it, support small business, and go get yourself a Player's Handbook. The reason this is so important is because this helps you create your character. As you go through, and I'll show you the table of contents, the main part of this book, part 1, is all about creating your character. From choosing the race to your class, personality and background details, your equipment, and some other options half of this book is dedicated to build, more than half is building your character. The second part of this book is about playing the game, using your ability scores, what you can do while you're adventuring, and explaining the rules of combat. And if you choose a character that can cast spells, there's a part 3 is all about use of spells and what they do. This is a must-have. I mean, you could probably get away with playing without it, but you really have to have this book because it tells you what your player can and cannot do. Starting with part 1, as we flip through, and I'm not going to go through every page here, but I'm going to give you the basics of why race is important in games. Certain races go hand in hand with certain classes. Like elves are a magical race. They're good with magic. So you might want to pair elf with a magic user, like a wizard or a warlock or a sorcerer, because they're going to maximize the abilities that you're able to use. This particular page here starts out with dwarf. So Kel, what are dwarves good at?
Dwarves are good at being barbarians because they're strong. Mm-hmm. They're good at being paladins because sometimes dwarves can be holy. Mm-hmm. And same thing with clerics. Mm-hmm. But they can also be spellcasters as well if you want to explore your imagination.
Yeah, dwarves are kind of, in our opinion, like a jack of all trades. They're mainly strong both internally, which we call constitution, and externally with, muscles, which is their strength. You can see this chick here's got armor on. She's wielding a big warhammer. So dwarves are like strong. So maybe you use them as like somebody who fights instead of spells. But that's where race plays. Your player's handbook is going to have the basic races like dwarves, elves, and the different subclasses, halflings, or like these are hobbits if you're familiar with Lord of the Rings. There's different humans that you can play. And then you get into like the halvesies, right? Dragonborn, half human, half dragon. Or gnome. It's like, it's almost like halflings and elves almost. Half elf.
Human and elf?
Half orc.
Human and orc.
Tiefling.
Human and demon.
Yeah, demon. So they're good with magic as well. So these races will help you, figure out what you want to be. And some of their traits as a race go hand in hand with the class that you choose. There are some folks, like your uncle, who like to take races and classes that don't go together and make a character out of that because they're more interesting.
Like an elf and a fighter.
Yeah, he's done that. Or a tiefling cleric. Mm-hmm. A demon who's holy, right? So he's done that. So those are some cool things to do. The next chapter gives you a description of all the classes, like barbarians, bards who are, poets or musicians or storytellers. The more artistic type, they use their magic, internally. You have healers like clerics and druids. The fighting classes like fighter, monk, paladin, and ranger. And then you have your rogue, who's like a thief. And then you have your spellcasters, the sorcerers, the warlock, and the wizard. Some of these other classes do have spells too, like rangers, paladins, druids, and clerics. A lot of the classes have spells because magic is very, very important to Dungeons and Dragons. But the third chapter is all about classes, what your class can do, how your health is determined, what kind of armor could they wear, what kind of weapons could they use. And this is all about helping you build your character. We're going to have a whole bunch of videos dedicated on what kind of barbarian could I play? What kind of bard could I play that could be interesting? And we're going to have videos right here on this channel that are dedicated to that to help you make your character. But this player's handbook is going to be great for that. As you get through your classes, you get into things like personality and background. Where did they come from? What was their upbringing? You can make something up completely, but some of these backgrounds will give you different things, like different languages you can speak or tools that you can use based on your background. Maybe you used to be a criminal. And if that's the case, maybe one of the pieces of starting equipment you have is a crowbar or dark colored clothing, right? So, these backgrounds will help you make your character into who you want them to be for your role playing. The 5th chapter is going to be about equipment. What does money look like in Dungeons and Dragons, and how does it convert? What are things that you can do? Like, what are some equipment you need, Kel?
Equipment you need is more like armor, and like if you're more of a like wizard or spellcaster, you're gonna need like light armor, like leather or some like studded pads.
Because they're not as strong, and they can't. Their bodies can't hold the heavy armor.
Yeah, right? But if you're something like, say, a ranger or like a fighter, you can wear like medium armor, like a chainmail, chain shirt, and
just bigger, stronger, like the barbarians, and the
clerics, paladins. They could wear stuff like plate.
They could look like medieval knights, right?
Yeah. There's something called like demon armor, where you're literally encased, filled with armor, and all you see is your face.
Yeah, and then you have weapons. You know, all kinds of different weapons. A lot of Dungeons and Dragons is set in like medieval time periods, so that's what you're going to find, like swords and rapiers and battle axes and glaives and whips and morning stars and scimitars and tridents and warhammers, you name it. And it tells you what kind of damage those things do. How much do they cost at shops that you might encounter in your adventure to buy certain weapons and things like that. There's all kinds of stuff in here for tools and adventuring gear, books, amulets that you can wear, mounts and vehicles. Maybe you want to ride a horse or a donkey or have a pet dog. You can do that. Or a little
Sebastian.
Yeah, you could do that. And different food and drink and how much those things cost. And if I want to get a room for the night at an inn somewhere, how much does that cost me in game? There's all kinds of stuff in here that you can use in your player's handbook, including different spells your spellcasters can choose. And what do they mean? How do I use these spells? What do they look like? What kind of damage do they do? Do they help my party? You know, there's all kinds of different things. And even towards the back of the book, you have some stat blocks for some creatures that you can use. Maybe you encounter, a brown bear in the game. How strong is the bear? What can the bear do? If I fight the bear, what kind of damage could it do to me? It has a bite and a claw attack. So this handbook is a must-have, as you can see. It helps you build your character. It helps you it explains to you adventuring in the game, money, and different creatures that you can encounter along the way. This is number 2. Dice is number 1. Your player's handbook is number 2. And because you have your player's handbook and you're filling out your character, you've got to have a character sheet. So this is a character sheet that I printed, and a character that Killian created for our Curse of Strahd campaign for Curse of Strahd. And this is Kabi Suosiv. That's your character. And I'll hold it up a little bit higher to the camera. This is a level 7 barbarian. And where your dice come into play is every character has 6 main attributes: strength, dexterity, or like how agile you are. Constitution, that's your inner strength. How much can you stomach, right? Your intelligence, like how smart you are. Or your wisdom, your decision-making ability. Or your charisma, like how are you with dealing with other people and talking to other people, right? Based off the scores, which you will roll for when you create your character, that determines things called saving throws or your skills. These bonuses are what you add to your dice rolls. And these skills are like acrobatics, animal handling, arcana, athletics, deception, history, insight, intimidation, investigation, medicine, nature, perception, performance, persuasion, religion, sleight of hand, stealth, and survival. Lots to unpack here. Don't let it overwhelm you. The point is, as you create your character, and we filled ours out on an app called D&D Beyond, which you can use on your laptop, your mobile device, or your tablet, or you could just Google D&D character sheet 5th edition, and you'll be able to get a PDF that you can print at home and fill out with pen and pencil. But using the app is great because as you plug the stuff in, it fills this out for you and you print it, and it's nice and printed like this. But basically your character sheet is going to tell you all the things that you can do, some of your actions, some of your bonus actions. Like his barbarian has rage. He gets very angry. And when he gets very angry, he, hits harder. And things that hit him don't affect him as much because he's so mad and so full of adrenaline that it doesn't affect him as much as it normally would. Those are some type of things that go along with our barbarian. Some of your weapons, he's got a lot of weapons here. A crossbow, a great axe, a great club, a javelin. He has some things, and it tells you the bonuses when he rolls to see if he hits a creature, what bonuses he can add to these weapons. And if he does in fact hit, this section tells you what the damage he needs to roll. Because everything is rolled with dice. That's why you need those dice. Other pages of your character sheet give you different kind of traits based on your race and your class. What other things can you do? Like he is a goblin barbarian, so he can attack. He has extra attack. He can attack more than once. Because he's a goblin, he has Fury of the Small. Once a day, he can deal an extra 7 damage to a creature that's bigger than him because he's little and angry. So he's got like really cool stuff. And his sheet also tells him all the equipment he's currently carrying, right? Maybe he wants to wear a disguise kit and sneak into a place. Maybe he's wanted in town and he wears this disguise kit to sneak around. So there's things on your character sheet that affect your role play, your personality traits, your ideals, your bonds, your flaws. Like his character flaw is, I don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm going through. You never can. Right? So maybe he's going to role play his character as standoffish and doesn't really allow people in. Right? Maybe his personality trait. My parent taught me a sense of duty. I strive to uphold it even when the odds are against me. And I will never get out of my, famous family tree. Right? Mm-hmm. So like maybe he's got a famous family background. It just helps him with role play. At the heart of it, D&D is a role-playing game. It is a tabletop role-playing game. You're supposed to dive into your character and act it out with your friends. This is basically like a living, breathing play that you're all taking part in together as collective storytelling. So your character sheet is absolutely crucial in how you are going to play your character or role play your character. So those are the 3 things that are must have, right? Dice, your character sheet, and your player's handbook. Some other nice things that you might see people use when playing D&D is maybe dry erase or graph paper. And that's important just because it helps people visualize where things are. You might see people play with minis. Like I've got this big bone golem right here, and maybe my adventuring party encounters this bone golem in a graveyard and they want to fight him. The graphed paper will help me identify where we all are and how close we are in relation to this monster. Maybe I need to use a bow and arrow to hit him. Or maybe this rogue is going to sneak up and try and, stab him with his daggers, right? Things like that. Do you need minis? No. You can use tokens. You can use coins. You can just draw an X on a paper to indicate where you are if you need visual aids. Those things are cool. But you don't have to have them. Another cool thing I would recommend every new player get, because these videos are really aimed at being new to D&D, is this D&D 5th edition starter set. You can get this, I think, at Walmart. I know Target has it, and I know Amazon has it for $10. For $10, you can get a starter set, and inside this box, you're going to get an adventure. It's about 64-page guide of an adventure of, starting through the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which is how we learned to play. We used this very case, as a matter of fact, to learn how to play, didn't we? Mm-hmm. What was this about? Do you remember?
This is about going to a town named Phandelver, which had a mine filled with creatures, and we needed to, exterminate said creatures.
Yeah, clear it out.
Once we did, the town awarded you.
Yeah, we clear out the mine so they can continue working in the mine and, making money for their town. But there were some other things that happened along the way, along our adventure, to figure out, who was behind it all and why were they in that mine and why wouldn't they let the townspeople in and things like that. And this is a great starter adventure that your dungeon master or game master, whomever you appoint in your group to lead the game while other people play it, is kind of like the referee. And this is their guide. This adventure guide is the dungeon master's booklet on how to run the campaign for everybody else. So everybody at the table, they didn't know what was coming next. Whoever was running the game, the dungeon master, kind of set the tone. And this book teaches you how to read this book. There are text boxes that you read aloud to your party to help describe things. Like this one says, this appears to be a storeroom pressed into the service's living quarters. 2 double bunks stand against the wall near the door, while barrels and crates fill the southern half of this chamber. So like there's descriptive text in here to help you describe and help your party visualize what it is. So it's an adventure in a box. It took us about 5 months of gameplay in the starter set to get through our first story, which was a lot of fun. And from the story, we moved on to another story or we made up our own, didn't we? Mm-hmm. It also comes with a starter rule set. So the very, very bare minimum basic rules you must understand before you can play. There's that. And then it also comes with encounter cards that you can cut up and throw down as like little side quests or NPCs or non-playable characters your dungeon master might want to use to throw into town and people who you can talk to, and just little cards to help you visualize what these people look like. The starter rulebook set, the starter set also comes with some blank character sheets. So, first timers, that's perfect for you to start filling out your first character with your player's handbook. This is $10 on Amazon. Player's handbook is about $28 on Amazon. And you can get dice as cheap as like $7 or $8 on Amazon. And you could start playing right away. Those are the absolute must-haves that you need in order to play Dungeons and Dragons with your friends at home or online. And there's lots more that we want to talk to you about. So our upcoming videos after this one are going to include how do you play? How do I build a character? How do I make a character? Mm-hmm.
How do you level up?
How do you level up? Things like that. So tune in to Innish. We're going to help you along the way. We'll have lots of videos to share with you on how to build characters. We're going to have one that's basic. We'll do a demonstration, a basic video. Mm-hmm. But we are also going to make a series of detailed videos of all the different types of barbarians you can make. And as you level up, what are some of the things you get with their subclasses? For every class, from barbarian, fighter, wizard, we're going to go through them all and what that character might look like if you build it all the way through. So we're going to have lots of videos on that. But stay tuned right here at our channel at Innish. We're going to help you learn how to play this game that we love. And we hope that you love it too. We'll see you at the table.